The necklace around Heirloom Choi's throat was the first thing I recognized when I entered my mother's reunion gala. It was a green jade pendant, shaped like a folded leaf, set in a thin gold frame. My mother had worn it on the night she opened her first restoration studio. She had told me the jade was not valuable because of its color. It was valuable because the stone had been cut from a larger piece she found inside a damaged lacquer box. The leaf is what remains after the tree survives the fire. She had said. Heirloom wore it above a white silk gown, while the family applauded her beneath a wall of projected photographs. Sunghwa Park, Legacy Reunion. The next photograph showed Heirloom standing beside my mother's portrait. The caption read, "Her daughter and heir." My name was nowhere on the screen. My father, Min Jae Park, stood at the podium with one hand resting on the glass display case beside him. Inside the case were 4 objects from my mother's collection. The jade leaf necklace, a silver hairpin with a red enamel flower, a pearl brooch, and a small carved ivory box. I knew the box because the hinge had been repaired 3 times. The family had told the museum the pieces were gifts Sunghwa gave to Heirloom. The gala was supposed to introduce Heirloom as the keeper of my mother's legacy. In my first life, I had walked across that ballroom with a folder of estate papers and asked why my mother's heirlooms were wearing someone else's name. My aunt Jiun had called me jealous. My father had called me confused. Heirloom had touched the jade pendant and whispered that my mother gave it to her because she was the only daughter who understood what the collection meant. The host had asked me to smile for the family photograph. I had refused. By midnight, the reunion committee had released a statement saying I had disrupted a memorial event and tried to remove donated objects from a museum display. A clip of me reaching toward the glass case went viral. The caption called me the daughter who wanted to pawn her mother's memories. The next morning, my father froze my access to the estate archive. 2 weeks later, the family court accepted an inventory listing Heirloom as the recipient of 18 heirlooms. The signatures looked like my mother's, but the dates placed the gifts after her stroke, when she could barely hold a pen. I found the first contradiction in a pawnshop ledger. The jade leaf had been pawned 6 months after my mother's death. The record named the seller as Heirloom Choi. The shop had released it after a payment from my father. I found another record in a restoration studio. The silver hairpin had been repaired under my mother's private client code, SP-17, 3 years before Heirloom ever entered our home. The pearl brooch had a museum accession tag hidden beneath the clasp. The carved box had a note in my mother's handwriting. Return to Sun HW, a park foundation if removed from archive. My father's lawyer called the notes incomplete. My aunt called them sentimental. Heirloom called them proof that my mother trusted her with everything. I kept searching. The last document was a private ledger my mother stored inside a recipe book. It contained names, dates, and small symbols beside each object. I could not decipher the symbols before my father found me in the archive. He took the book. "You are turning grief into an accusation," he said. "I am trying to find out why you are giving her things that were never yours to give." He closed the recipe book. "Your mother wanted Heirloom to have a place in this family. A place is not an ownership transfer. You do not understand what your mother promised. Then show me." He did not. The following week, my car lost control on the mountain road behind the old studio. I remembered the guardrail, the smell of wet metal, and the recipe book sliding across the passenger seat. Then I opened my eyes in the guest room of the park house. The clock said 5:10 p.m. The reunion gala began at 7. On the chair beside me lay the black dress I wore in my first life. In the jewelry tray was the green jade leaf necklace. It was not supposed to be there. I lifted the pendant and turned it over. The gold frame carried a tiny restoration mark beneath the clasp, SP-17. The family had not yet put it around Heirloom's neck. I had less than 2 hours before they displayed every object my mother left me and introduced another woman as her heir. I could storm downstairs and demand the necklace. That was what the old me had done. This time, I placed it back in the tray. I wanted Heirloom to wear it beneath the ballroom lights. The gala invitation had arrived 3 weeks earlier in a gray envelope embossed with the Park Foundation seal. It described the evening as a reunion of artists, donors, and family friends who had been touched by Sunhwa's work. The guest list included museum directors, restoration students, journalists, and the people who had once asked my mother for loans when their own collections were damaged. The invitation did not mention an heir. The press packet did. Rachel, a publicist my father hired after my mother's funeral, had sent a draft to the local culture desk. It described Heirloom as Sunhwa's adopted daughter and guardian of the collection. The word adopted had been used without an adoption record. Guardian had been used without a board vote. I found the packet in my first life after the gala, printed in a folder beside the guest book. The copy contained a quote attributed to me. "I am proud that Heirloom is carrying Mother's work forward." I had never said it. When I confronted Rachel, she told me the quote was a placeholder. The placeholder appeared in 6 newspapers the next morning. The first life had not collapsed at the ballroom. It had collapsed in every small room where people accepted a convenient sentence because checking it would delay the event. This time, I wanted each convenience to arrive with its source attached. I printed the press packet, the invitation, and the gala program. The program listed Heirloom as legacy curator and me as archive consultant. My own mother's foundation had reduced me to a job title while giving a sponsored student the family role. I placed those pages beside Aaron's restoration copies. There was a pattern in the documents. The foundation used warm words for Heirloom: daughter, guardian, chosen heir, but cold words for me: consultant, contributor, family member. The language was not decoration. It was preparing the audience to believe the transfer before the objects appeared. I called the museum's donor relations office and asked whether the gala was being used to solicit funds. The officer hesitated, then admitted that the foundation had announced a new endowment in Heirloom's name. Donors were being encouraged to give toward a permanent collection she would control. The stakes were not sentimental anymore. If the gala succeeded, the museum would accept the display as a public foundation collection, and the donor money would make the false title harder to unwind. I told the officer to send a legal observer. Then I saved the email. I wanted the museum cameras to record the object before anyone could call it a memory. Then I called Aaron Moon, the restorer who had worked with my mother for 19 years. "Aaron," I said, "are you going to my mother's gala tonight?" Her voice went quiet. "Who told you about it?" "Everyone who forgot to invite me." She exhaled. "Seo Yeon, you should not go alone." "I will not." "What do you need?" "The restoration files for SP-17, the accession records, and every photograph your studio kept of my mother's collection. That is a lot to carry into a ballroom." "I am not carrying it in." I looked at the empty jewelry tray. "I am letting them put the evidence on display first." Aaron did not ask why I sounded calm. She had known my mother long enough to understand that calm was not the absence of anger. It was what Sunhwa called the moment after a person decided where to place it. My mother had collected damaged heirlooms for 30 years. She did not buy objects because they were expensive. She bought them because someone had tried to erase the person who made them. A cracked porcelain bowl with a maker's initials under the glaze, a wedding comb missing 2 teeth, a jade pendant recovered from a burned apartment. She restored the objects and wrote their histories on cards kept in a locked archive. "An object without a record is just a thing," she told me. "A record tells it who it belonged to, who touched it, and why it survived." I worked in the archive after school. My father hated the dust. He wanted the business to become a luxury brand with glossy campaigns and a foundation named after our family. My mother preferred a narrow room with a work lamp, a magnifying glass, and drawers labeled in her own handwriting. I inherited her habit of recording everything. Heirloom entered our lives after the Hanseo Foundation collapsed. Sunhwa had sponsored a restoration scholarship for young artists. Heirloom was one of the recipients. She was 19, talented, and always grateful in front of my mother. She called Sunhwa teacher. My mother called her Rin. At first, I liked her. Heirloom stayed late in the studio and learned how to clean lacquer without stripping away the original color. She remembered which tea my mother drank. She listened when Sunhwa described the history behind an object. Then she began appearing in family photographs. My father said it was good for the foundation. My aunt said it made my mother look generous. Heirloom learned that people liked a daughter who arrived carrying flowers and never asked for a share. When my mother had her stroke, Heirloom moved into the guest room. I was working in Singapore on a museum installation. I flew home before the doctors finished explaining the damage. Heirloom was already sitting beside the hospital bed. She held my mother's hand for the cameras. My father said she had been there every night. He did not mention that I had been the one calling nurses, signing treatment forms, and keeping the archive from being cleared by the estate team. After Sunhwa died, Heirloom did not leave. She wore black for 40 days. On the 41st day, my father asked me to let her stay. Your mother considered her family, he said. Family is not the same as heir. Do not be cruel. I am asking for the estate inventory. He looked toward Heirloom, who was standing by the kitchen door. She did not speak. That silence made my father feel like a protector. The first heirloom disappeared 3 weeks after the funeral. It was a silver hairpin with a red enamel flower. My mother wore it when she signed the lease for the studio. The inventory listed it in drawer 4, box 11. When I asked where it was, Heirloom said my mother gave it to her during rehabilitation. She could not sign. I said, she did not need to sign a gift. Then why was it in the archive inventory? Because you kept everything. My father told me to stop interrogating her. The next month, the pearl brooch disappeared. Then the carved box. Then the jade leaf. Each object appeared in a new photograph of Heirloom. The family did not call them gifts at first. They called them memories. A memory became a family blessing. A blessing became an inheritance. The wording changed in stages because every stage required less proof than the one before it. A memory needed only a photograph. A blessing needed a story told by someone who had been in the room. An inheritance needed a signature. But by the time the family used that word, the audience had already accepted the necklace around Heirloom's neck. My father understood the order. He sent donors a photograph of Heirloom kneeling beside my mother's hospital bed. In the corner of the image, a tray held the silver hairpin. The caption said, Sunhwa had begun preparing Heirloom to lead the collection. I knew when the photograph was taken. I had been on the other side of the bed, asking a nurse to move the tray away from my mother's arm. Sunhwa was unconscious. Heirloom was not receiving instructions. She was posing beside a box of objects that had not yet been inventoried after the stroke. The photograph became a brochure. The brochure became a donor email. The donor email became a sentence in the notarized inventory. Sunhwa entrusted the collection to Heirloom during rehabilitation. That sentence was not supported by a transfer document. It was supported by the fact that people had seen Heirloom near the objects. I began keeping my own evidence map. In the first column, I wrote the object code. In the second, the last confirmed archive location. In the third, the person who had access. In the fourth, every public sentence that changed the object from an archive item into a gift. The map showed the theft moving through language. No one had to carry the jade leaf out of the building in front of witnesses. They only had to call the room where it had been stored a private dressing room, then call the person wearing it a daughter. An inheritance became the reason they held the reunion gala. The gala was not only a memorial, it was an announcement. The Park family would introduce Heirloom as Sunhwa's chosen daughter, the person who understood the collection and would lead the new foundation. My father did not say what would happen to me. He did not need to. The invitation described me as a contributing family member. Not heir. Not daughter. Contributing in the first life. I confronted him at the rehearsal dinner. He showed me an estate inventory with 18 objects listed as gifts to heroine. The pages had been notarized. The signatures looked like my mother's. I recognized the paper. It came from the foundation office, not the hospital. The ink was wrong too. My mother used a blue-black pen that dried slowly. The signatures on the inventory were black and glossy. I told the family. My aunt accused me of forging a medical story to take back the objects. Heirine cried. My father asked the event manager to escort me out. The clip of my hand on the glass case became the proof that I was unstable. This time, I did not go to the rehearsal dinner. I went to Erin's restoration studio. She met me in the back room, where the walls were lined with drawers. You look like your mother did before she found a missing maker's mark, she said. Did she leave records for the jade leaf? Erin opened a cabinet. SP-17. Restoration completed in 2018. Gold frame repaired. Stone cut from a larger leaf-shaped pendant. Original owner, Sunghwa Park. Was it ever gifted? Not according to my files. She pulled out a photograph. The jade pendant lay on a black cloth. Beside it was a close-up of the restoration mark. SP-17. The photograph was dated 2 years before Heirine joined the foundation. Erin opened another drawer. The hairpin had a repair tag. The pearl brooch had a museum accession number. The carved box had a conservation note. Every object had a history that began before Heirine entered our family. Why did you never show these to me? I asked. Your mother told me to release the records only if the collection was challenged. It is being displayed as a donation. Erin's face tightened. Then the collection is already being challenged. She gave me copies in a flat envelope. The envelope contained more than repair forms. Erin had included the intake notes from the night my mother first brought each piece to the studio in one note. Sunghwa described the jade leaf as, the object Seoyeon will receive only after she understands why it was saved. In another, she wrote that the pearl brooch should remain with the foundation until the archive had a permanent public home. She wrote about me. I said, she wrote about the work you would do. Erin replied, your mother trusted actions more than titles. I asked whether Heirine had ever helped with repairs. She assisted twice. She was careful with the tools and careless with the labels. Careless how? Erin showed me a photograph from the insurance session. Heirine had placed a temporary sticker over the original object code, then written a new number in pencil. The new number matched a proposed family display, not the archive index. Did she know what she was changing? She asked whether a visitor would understand the old code. I told her the code was the object's identity. She said the family wanted names people could pronounce. That sentence explained why the Gala display used descriptions instead of inventory numbers. The family had removed the language that led back to the archive and replaced it with language that led back to Heirine. I photographed the sticker and the intake note. You are building a case, Erin said. I am rebuilding the path. A case is what happens when someone tries to block it. Take these, but understand the danger. What danger? Paper can prove where an object came from. It cannot prove who took it from the archive. I thought of the pawn ledger. I know someone who can prove that. Erin looked at the clock. The gala opens at 7. I will be there. With a lawyer? With the person who sold my mother's necklace to a pawn shop, Mr. Kwan owned the pawn shop 3 streets behind the old market. In my first life, I had found his ledger after the gala, when the family had already convinced the court that every object belonged to Heirine. He had been frightened of my father's lawyer and refused to release a copy. This time, I arrived before the evening rush. He recognized the jade pendant in the photograph Erin gave me. That was a long time ago, he said. 6 months after my mother's funeral. His fingers stopped moving. I do not remember the date. I do. I placed a copy of the estate inventory on the counter. Drawer 4, box 11. Jade leaf pendant. Condition, excellent. Location, Park Foundation Archive. Mr. Kwan read the line. People bring things here when they need money. My mother was dead. Heron was alive. He looked toward the back room. Your father paid the release fee. I know. You should speak to him. I am speaking to you. He closed the ledger. In the first life, I had begged. This time, I placed Aaron's restoration photograph beside the inventory. Your ledger says the seller was Heirloom Choi. Your release record says the payment came from a Park Foundation account. The object was not a gift. It was collateral. Mr. Kwan looked at the photograph. She said the necklace belonged to her. Then why did she pawn it under her own name instead of the Foundation's? He had no answer. I told him the Gala would display the same pendant as a memorial gift. I asked whether he would confirm the record if the museum's legal team requested it. He said he would. Then he added something he had never told me before. Your father came in with a woman from the Foundation office. She asked me to change the seller description from beneficiary to family recipient. Who? I do not know her name. She wore a blue scarf and carried a folder with a gold seal. My Aunt Jian wore blue scarves. I did not accuse her yet. I asked Mr. Kwan for a signed statement. He wrote the date, the seller, the payment account, and the release request. He signed every page. The statement was not dramatic. That was why it could survive. From the pawn shop, I went to the Park Foundation office. The doors were locked for the Gala, but the side entrance opened when I used my old staff code. My father had not changed the archive access because he believed I would not return after the first life. The archive room smelled of paper and cedar. The official inventory was missing 18 pages. I knew where the duplicate lived. My mother had hidden important records behind the portrait in the reception hall because my father disliked moving framed art. The portrait was a photograph of Sunhwa holding the first restored lacquer box. The frame had a shallow compartment in the back. I removed it from the wall. Behind it was a black inventory box. Inside were handwritten ledger pages, restoration photographs, and a sealed envelope addressed to me. The envelope was dated 3 months before my mother's stroke. Co. Yon. If the collection is ever displayed without its records, do not argue with the person holding the object. Ask where the object was before they touched it. The family will say memory is enough. Memory is how people hide the missing years. On the ledger, my mother used symbols beside every object. A leaf meant the piece belonged to her personal archive. A circle meant it was promised to the Foundation. A line through the circle meant the promise was conditional. The jade leaf had a leaf symbol. The hairpin had a leaf symbol. The pearl brooch had a leaf symbol. The carved box had a leaf symbol and a note. Never remove from archive without Co. Yan present. I read the line twice. Then I found Heirin's name in the margins. Not as a recipient. As a witness, my mother had asked Heirin to help photograph the objects for insurance. Heirin had signed beside each image to confirm the condition. The signatures were neat. The family would say they proved Heirin had been trusted. The dates proved she had seen the archive before every object disappeared. I photographed each page. At the bottom of the last sheet, my mother had written a second note. If Min-jae says the objects were gifts, ask him to produce the gift dates. If Ji-eun says she witnessed them, ask why her name appears only after the inventory was altered. My mother had known. She had not known how much they would take. She had also left me a second kind of protection. At the bottom of the ledger, beneath the object codes, she listed the people who could verify each stage of a piece's life. Aaron could verify the repairs. Mr. Kwan could verify the pawn record. June could verify the museum accession forms. The foundation's former bookkeeper, Ms. Bay, could verify the account that paid the release fee. I had met Ms. Bay once at a board meeting. She was a quiet woman with a red notebook who never spoke until the numbers were on the screen. In my first life, I searched for her after the gala and learned that my father had given her a severance package the day before. The ledger included her old office extension. I called it. No one answered at first. Then a voice said, "Who is this?" Seo Yan Park. I found my mother's archive ledger. There was a long silence. You should not be calling this number. Did the foundation account pay to release a jade necklace from Kwan's shop? The silence changed shape. I did not authorize it. I did not ask who authorized it. I asked whether the payment exists. Ms. Bay said she still had a copy of the monthly ledger because the foundation had never collected the old files after she left. She could send it to June's legal office, but she would not attend the gala. You do not have to attend. I told her, you only have to let the record enter the room. She sent the file. The payment reference read, Collection Recovery-SP17. The description did not say gift. It said release. My father had paid to recover an object Heirlooms claimed to have received from my mother. That was the contradiction I needed. I heard a door open in the reception hall. I placed the ledger in my bag and stepped behind the portrait. My father entered with Ji-yun and Hae-rin. Hae-rin carried the jade pendant in a velvet box. Put it on before the guests arrive, Ji-yun said. Hae-rin touched the box. What if Seo-yeon comes? She will make a scene, my father said. The family will remember who kept the collection alive. Hae-rin looked at the portrait. Sunhwa wanted me to wear it. Your mother wanted the foundation to survive. My father said, those are not the same thing. The sentence stopped me. Hae-rin heard it too. For 1 second. She looked less like a daughter and more like a person who had just realized she was being used as a display case. Then Ji-yun closed the velvet box. Tonight, you become the heir everyone can see. I waited until they left. Then I called Grace. Bring the statement from Mr. Kwan, I said, and asked the museum to send a legal observer. Are you filing a claim? Not yet. What are you doing? I looked at the portrait of my mother. I am asking them to display every stolen object before I tell the room where each one came from. The gala opened at 7. By 7:05, the ballroom was full of foundation donors, museum trustees, distant relatives, and journalists who had come for the announcement of Sunhwa Park's new legacy collection. The objects sat inside 4 glass cases along the stage. The jade leaf necklace was around Hae-rin's throat. The silver hairpin held her hair. The pearl brooch fastened her gown. The carved ivory box rested on a velvet pedestal beside a card that read, Gifts from Sunhwa Park to her beloved daughter, Hae-rin Choi. I stood at the rear entrance with Grace, Aaron, and Jun Seo, the museum's legal observer. Jun had worked with my mother on the original collection. He looked at the display card. That wording came from the foundation, he said. Not the museum. The museum accepted the objects under a provisional donation agreement. We were told the estate had documented the gifts. Did you see the gift dates? No. Then tonight you will. Grace handed him a copy of the ledger. June read the symbols. The museum accession form has the same object codes. Does it mention ownership? It says donor representative Min-jae Park. Not Hae-rin. June looked at the display card again. Then the card is wrong. It is one of many. At the podium, my father began the welcome speech. He described Sunhwa as a woman who believed every object carried a family memory. He thanked Hae-rin for preserving the collection. He thanked Ji-yun for managing the foundation. He did not thank me. Hae-rin stood beneath the projection screen. The first photograph showed her holding the jade leaf. The caption read, The daughter who stayed. The audience applauded. My father said, after Sunhwa's illness, Heirlooms became the daughter who never left her side. I looked at the stage cameras. The story had been written before I arrived. The host, Taejin Lee, invited Heirlooms to speak about the collection. She held the microphone with both hands. Sunhwa taught me that heirlooms are not possessions. She said, they are promises. The line came from my mother's archive cards. Heirlooms had read them. Taejin asked about the jade necklace. Heirlooms touched the pendant. She gave it to me on the night she called me her daughter. The audience made a soft sound. I walked toward the stage. The cameras found me before the host did. My father stepped away from the podium. Seo Yeon, this is not the time. It is the time you chose. The gala manager approached. Grace raised her hand. Do not remove her. The museum's legal observer is present. June stepped beside me. I am here to review the provisional donation. Taejin looked between us. Are you disputing the display? I am disputing the word gift. Haerin's hand closed around the pendant. My father spoke into the microphone. Seo Yeon has been under considerable stress since her mother's death. We should respect her grief. I took a copy of the inventory and held it where the camera could see the object code. SP-17 was restored in 2018. Heirlooms entered the foundation in 2021. The necklace was in my mother's archive 2 years before she met you. Heirlooms looked at my father. Why does that matter? Because a gift needs a date, my father said. Your mother did not keep every promise on paper. She kept every object on paper. Aaron opened the restoration file. The necklace was photographed in the archive on March 4th, 2019. The condition report lists Sunhwa Park as owner and Seo Yeon Park as archive witness. The image appeared on the ballroom screen. The audience saw the necklace on a black cloth, with my mother's handwriting beside it. Heirlooms stepped back. That only proves it was in the archive. It proves it was not on your neck. Jian moved toward the screen. Anyone can edit a photograph. June answered. The museum received the original image file with the restoration studio signature. It was not edited. Taejin asked the technical team to display the file metadata. The photograph date appeared. The room became quiet. One of the donors raised her hand. She was an older woman who had bought a restored lacquer box from my mother in 2011. Sunhwa had refused her first offer because the donor wanted to remove the maker's mark. They eventually reached an agreement that kept the object on public display. If the museum did not verify the gift dates, the donor asked, why is the foundation soliciting money tonight? June answered, the endowment was announced before the Provenance review was completed. The donor turned toward my father. Did you tell us the collection belonged to Heirlooms? He said, we told you she was carrying Sunghwa's legacy. That is not the same sentence. Another donor opened the Gala program. The program calls her legacy curator. Does that mean she controls the objects? Evelyn Hart replied from the back of the ballroom. Not without a valid custody or ownership transfer. The family had expected me to fight alone. They had not expected the people who funded the foundation to ask what their money was being used to preserve. Heirlooms looked at the projection screen, where the old archive photograph still showed the necklace on the black cloth. Why did you come tonight? She asked me. Because the display was going to turn a private claim into a public title. You could have called me. I called you in the first life. You said the records were family property. She looked confused. I do not remember that. You will remember the interview after tonight. She understood then that I was not simply arguing about an object. I was refusing to let the event create a version of the past that could be quoted forever. My father reached for the microphone. We are not turning a memorial into a courtroom. You turned it into an ownership announcement. I said, I am asking the announcement to include the records. The pearl brooch was next. I asked Heirlooms who gave it to her. Sunhwa! On what date? I do not remember. The museum accession tag says the brooch entered the collection under SP22 in 2016. The restoration file says it was repaired after a clasp broke during a foundation exhibition. Who signed the repair authorization? Aaron answered, Sunhwa Park. Who collected it from the studio? Seo Yan Park. The audience looked at me. I did not need to explain. I had been the person who returned the object to my mother's archive. Heirine had been the person who later wore it. The display card called it a gift. The repair record called it a return. Heirine turned toward the audience. You are making me look like a thief because you are angry that my mother trusted me. Your mother? She hesitated. The word had escaped her before. Sunhwa was my mother. Heirine had called her teacher, then auntie, then mother only after the funeral. The family had accepted every name that made the photographs warmer. My father took the microphone. She was a daughter to Sunhwa in every way that matters. Then show the gift dates, I said. He said, this is not a legal hearing. June lifted the museum accession form. The provisional donation agreement says the objects remain subject to ownership verification. The museum cannot release them into the foundation's permanent collection without clear title. The room changed again. The display was not final. The family had been celebrating before the museum finished checking the records. Grace gave Taejin the signed statement from Mr. Kwon. 6 months after Sunhwa's death, the jade leaf was pawned by Heirine Choi. The release fee was paid by the Park Foundation account. The pawn shop record identifies the object as collateral, not a gift. Heirine looked at the paper. I needed money. That is not the issue, I said. The issue is that a gift recipient does not normally pawn an object under a record that lists someone else as the account holder. My father said. The foundation helped her. That does not prove the necklace was stolen. I opened my mother's private ledger. The leaf symbol beside SP17 filled the ballroom screen. At the bottom of the page, the note read, Never remove from archive without Seo Yan present. My Aunt Jian walked toward me. You went through your mother's private things. I went through the record you were using to erase me. Jian lowered her voice. Sunhwa wanted Heirine to inherit the collection because you were never interested in the foundation. I spent 10 years cataloging it. You left for Singapore to install my mother's collection in a museum that paid her. She wanted someone who stayed. She wanted the objects preserved. I turned the page. The next entry was for the silver hairpin. SP19. Personal archive. Repair authorization signed by Sunhwa. Witness. Seo Yan. Heirine photographed condition for insurance. Not a gift. Heirine saw her own name. She whispered, I was only helping. You were helping photograph the objects before they disappeared. My father stepped between us. Enough. No, the objects are speaking now. Aaron placed the repair tag beside the display card. The tag carried the restoration date, the studio code, and my mother's signature. The hairpin had been repaired in 2018. The family photograph showing Heirine wearing it was dated 2023. The gap was 5 years. A gift could fit inside that gap. So could a theft. That was why I needed the ledger, the repair tag, the inventory, and the pawn record together. Each document narrowed the story until the family could no longer replace it with a feeling. Taejin asked my father whether he had a gift list. He produced a notarized inventory. The first page named 18 objects as gifts to Heirine. I recognized the paper. It is a copy. It is notarized. The notarization date is after my mother's stroke. Jian said, that does not make it false. It makes it require a witness. Grace opened the estate file. The inventory lists gifts on dates when Sunhwa was in rehabilitation. The hospital record shows she could not sign or leave the ward on 3 of those dates, I asked. The room murmured. June placed Ms. Bay's payment ledger beside the notarized inventory. The reference number matched the jade leaf. The date was 6 months after my mother's funeral, and 2 days before Heirloom's photograph appeared in the foundation brochure. My father said, "A foundation payment does not establish who owned the item before the payment." "No," I said. "The archive inventory does. The restoration photograph does. The pawn record does. The payment proves the foundation retrieved an object someone else had pledged." Jian said, "Maybe Heirloom was protecting it from a creditor." "Then why did the release request call her seller?" Grace displayed the signed form from Mr. Kwan. The seller field contained Heirloom's name. The release request contained my father's authorization. The foundation account contained the payment. 3 people, 1 object, no gift date. Heirloom stared at the form. "I was told the necklace had been misplaced." She said, "Who told you?" She looked at my father. He said, "This is not a reliable memory." "It is not a memory," Grace answered. "It is a signed transaction." The museum's legal observer asked the event manager to stop the donation announcement. The manager looked at my father, then at the donors, then at the case containing the necklace. He removed the foundation logo from the screen. The image of Heirloom and my mother disappeared. For the first time that night, the ballroom was not looking at a daughter beneath a portrait. It was looking at 4 objects whose histories had not been approved by the family. My father said, "She could have given verbal permission." "Then why did the inventory use signatures?" He did not answer. June examined the pages. The ink is glossy black. The original estate forms use blue-black ink. Aaron leaned toward the display. Sunhwa's signature has a pressure pattern. These lines were traced from a scan. My father turned pale. Heirloom reached for his arm. "Did you know?" He looked at her. The answer was not a word. The audience saw his hand close around her wrist. I remembered the first life, when he had used that same hand to remove my folder from the table. This time, he had nothing to remove. The museum's technical team displayed the original ledger photograph. The file metadata showed it had been created before the notarized inventory. The ledger was not a new accusation. It was the older record. Taejin asked me what I wanted. I looked at the cases. "I want the museum to suspend the donation, the foundation to preserve the archive, and every person who claimed these were gifts to sign a correction." Heirloom said, "You want to humiliate me?" "I want the display card to stop lying." The phrase spread through the ballroom. A donor near the front asked whether the foundation had accepted other objects without title verification. June answered, "We are reviewing the entire collection." The gala had begun as Heirloom's introduction. It was becoming an audit. The family tried to move the audience toward the dinner hall. Jian told the event staff to close the display cases. June stopped them. "Nothing leaves the room until the museum documents the condition and location." My father said the museum had no authority over privately owned objects. "Then show the transfer documents," June replied. The case keys remained on the curator's belt. Heirloom stood beside the jade display, no longer touching the pendant. Taejin asked whether she would remove it. She looked at my father. He shook his head. That small refusal made the final claim for him. He was still treating the necklace as a prop he controlled. Grace noticed. "The necklace should be photographed on the wearer and off the wearer," she said. "The clasp may contain the restoration code." Aaron stepped onto the stage. She asked Heirloom to turn around. Heirloom resisted. "I am not a display object." "Neither was the necklace," I said. For a moment, she looked directly at me. Then she unclasped it. The jade leaf rested in Aaron's gloved palm. Beneath the clasp was the SP-17 mark and a second engraving, SP Archive. My mother's initials, The ballroom screen showed the engraving. The family could call the mark a memory. They could not call it a gift from Heiron's own history. The silver hairpin carried a restoration thread, dyed the same red as the enamel flower. Aaron matched it to the studio's 2018 repair log. The pearl brooch had a hidden accession tag. The carved box contained a scrap of paper folded beneath the lining. June used tweezers to remove it. The note was in my mother's handwriting. Return to the foundation only after Seo Yan reviews the condition. The note did not name Heiron. It named me. My father said the note could have been written for any family member. It says my name? Your mother did not mean every instruction literally. Then why did you hide it? He looked at Ji-eun. Ji-eun looked at Heiron. The family had run out of people to blame without pointing back to itself. Tae-jin asked the museum attorney whether the objects could be retained. Evelyn Hart, who had observed the process from the back of the ballroom, stepped forward. The provisional donation is suspended. The museum will retain the objects for independent provenance review. The foundation must provide the complete estate file and server records. My father said, "This is a private family event." Evelyn looked at the cameras. You made it a public donor event and displayed objects under a public foundation name. A donor asked whether her contribution had funded Heiron's personal wardrobe. Ji-eun tried to answer, "The foundation supports cultural preservation." Then why was the necklace pawned? The donor asked. No one had expected the audience to ask questions. That was the difference between a staged memorial and a real record. A staged memorial gave people a script. A record gave them the right to read the next line. Mr. Kwan's signed statement appeared on the screen. The pawn date matched the foundation payment. Heiron began to cry. I was told the necklace was mine. Who told you? She looked at my father. He said, "Do not answer." Grace lifted her hand. That instruction is itself relevant. Heiron covered her mouth. I did not ask her to betray him. The documents had already made the relationship clear. She had been offered a name, a wardrobe, and a role. My father had offered her the visible part of my mother's legacy while keeping the records locked. He had not only stolen from me, he had used Heiron as proof that the theft was loving. Heiron turned towards the empty display card. What happens to the foundation now? The museum reviews the collection. June said, the board reviews the transfer. What happens to me? That depends on what you signed and what you knew. She looked at me. Did you know? I knew the objects were in the archive. I did not know what my father promised you. I thought she chose me. My mother chose the records. The records chose me as witness. The sentence hurt her. It hurt me too, because I understood how easily a person could mistake being needed for being loved. The dinner was canceled. The cancellation notice did not say scandal. It said Provenance concern. That phrase traveled through the donor list faster than the original invitation. 3 museum trustees withdrew their names from the endowment. 2 restoration students asked whether the foundation would still pay their stipends. The event photographer sent the raw files to Jun because he no longer trusted the captions attached to his images. My father called me from the empty ballroom. You have made the family impossible to work with, he said. The family made the collection impossible to verify. You could have waited for the board. The board was watching you introduce Heiron as heir. Waiting would have made the introduction part of the record. He said the donors would leave. The foundation would lose its name, and my mother would be remembered for a fight instead of her work. Her work is the reason the records exist. I said, you are the one who tried to replace it with a photograph. He asked whether I wanted him removed. I want the board to decide after reading the same evidence. The next morning, I sent the ledger, pawn statement, restoration files, and payment record to every trustee. I did not add an accusation. I added a timeline. At 9:14, SP-17 was in the archive. At 9:32, Heirlooms signed the insurance photograph. At 10:08, the foundation paid to release the pawned necklace. At 10:42, this object appeared in the donor brochure as a gift. The timestamps did what my anger could not. They showed the order of events. The reunion committee sent a correction to every donor before midnight. The display card was removed. The object stayed in the cases under museum custody. Heirlooms left without the necklace. My father remained beneath the portrait of Sunhwa, surrounded by cameras that no longer belonged to his event. The Provenance review took 11 days. The museum found that every one of the 18 disputed objects had been part of Sunhwa Park's personal archive or foundation collection before Heirlooms received them. 7 objects had been photographed by Heirlooms for insurance. 5 had been repaired under Sunhwa's private client code. 3 had been pledged or transferred through foundation accounts after Sunhwa's death. 2 had appeared in a notarized gift inventory, signed after her stroke. The jade leaf had never been legally gifted. The silver hairpin had never been legally gifted. The pearl brooch had never been legally gifted. The carved box had an explicit instruction that I review any removal. The museum returned the objects to the Park Foundation archive under a new custody agreement. The board removed my father as interim director. GN resigned before the audit could ask about the blue scarf at Mr. Kwan's shop. She sent me a letter saying she had only wanted to protect the family from scandal. I returned it with the phrase, "Family is not a title of ownership," written across the envelope. Heirlooms did not lose her scholarship history or her work as a restorer. The board removed her from the foundation's succession plan and required her to return the objects she still held. She returned 9 pieces. The other 9 were found in a storage unit rented under my father's assistant's name. That discovery changed the legal case. The family had not misplaced the collection. They had been moving it. The court voided the gift inventory because the signatures were not authenticated and the dates conflicted with the hospital records. Mr. Kwan's statement established that the jade leaf had been treated as collateral. Aaron's files established the restoration history. The ledger established my mother's intent. No single piece of paper saved me. The chain did. My mother had understood that. She had built the archive so no one could make one document carry the entire truth. 3 weeks after the review, I opened the archive to the museum board. The new display cards used the original object codes, restoration dates, and custody history. The jade leaf card read, SP-17, Personal Archive of Sunhwa Park, restored 2018. Custody transfer pending founder's succession review. Witness, Seo Yeon Park. My name did not say heir. It said witness. That was enough. Heirlooms came to the archive on a rainy afternoon. She was not wearing the white gala dress. She wore a navy coat and carried a small box. "I brought back the last piece," she said. Inside was a pearl comb. I had not known it was missing. "Where did you find it?" "In my father's office safe." She placed it on the table. The comb had 2 broken teeth and a restoration mark from Aaron's studio. Heirlooms touched the box. "I thought if I became your mother's daughter, no one could send me back." "You were not sent anywhere. I was told you would never accept me." "I did accept you. Not as the person they wanted me to be." She looked at the archive shelves. "I signed the photographs because I thought signing meant my mother trusted me." "My mother trusted you to record the objects. I thought that was the same as owning them." "It is not." She nodded. "Did she ever call me daughter?" "Once." Heron looked up. "When?" "After you stayed late to repair the lacquer box. She said you were a daughter to the work." Her eyes filled. "Why did no one tell me that?" "Because my father wanted you to believe the work belonged to you. It made you useful." She closed her eyes. I did not comfort her with a lie. The truth was the only thing left that my mother had not already labeled. Heirlooms signed a return statement for the pearl comb. Then she signed a witness statement describing the night my father asked her to wear the jade leaf at the gala. She did not say she was innocent. She said what she saw. That was enough to open the Foundation's second audit. The new succession agreement gave me control of the archive, but not the right to erase Heirloom's contribution. I created a restoration fellowship in my mother's name and funded it through the object's exhibition revenue. The fellowship included one rule: no artist's labor, ownership, or credit could be changed by family vote. The reunion gala was never held again. The museum replaced it with an annual Provenance night where every object was displayed beside its records. Guests could see the restoration marks, the custody dates, and the names of the people who preserved each piece. The first year, I stood beneath the jade leaf. A child asked why the necklace was behind glass. Because glass lets people look without pretending they own what they see, I said. Before the doors opened, I met with the new foundation board and read the custody agreement aloud. The board included June, Aaron, 2 donor representatives, and a restoration student elected by the fellowship recipients. No family member could approve a transfer alone. No object could be photographed for publicity without its inventory code. No label could use the word daughter, heir, gift, or legacy unless the archive contained a document supporting it. The rules sounded severe until I remembered how quickly a soft word had changed 18 objects into someone else's inheritance. Heirine attended the first Provenance night as a guest, not a representative. She stood near the entrance with a small notebook and watched people read the records before looking at the cases. An elderly donor recognized her. "You were in the gala photographs," the donor said. Heirine bowed. "I was..." "The card called you Sunghwa's daughter." The card was wrong. The donor looked toward me. Heirine stopped her. Seo Yan did not change the card to punish me. She changed it because the object had a record before I had a story. That was the first time she corrected the public language without being prompted. Later, she gave the archive a copy of the blue scarf request she had received from Jiun. The message asked her to confirm that Sunghwa had given the jade leaf during rehabilitation. Heirine had never replied, but she had saved the message because she thought it was an invitation to become family. The archive logged it as evidence, not confession. I asked whether she wanted her name removed from the old display photographs. "No," she said. "Leave them. People should see how easily a photograph becomes a claim." The answer did not restore the years she spent wearing my mother's objects. It gave the record one more honest witness. The child considered that. Then she asked whether I would ever wear it. One day. Not because I needed to prove it belonged to me, because my mother had worn it after surviving a fire, and I wanted to carry the part of that story that was mine. On the anniversary of the gala, I opened the recipe book where I found the private ledger. The page still carried my mother's warning. Ask where the object was before they touched it. I added a line beneath it. Then ask who kept the record when they lied about touching it. The collection survived. My father's name disappeared from the foundation wall. Heirine built a smaller restoration studio and returned to the work my mother had first trusted her with. We did not become sisters. We became 2 people who finally understood the difference between being placed in a family photograph and being responsible for the truth inside it. The jade leaf stayed in the archive. The silver hairpin stayed beside its repair tag. The pearl brooch stayed beside its accession record. The carved box stayed open so visitors could read the note beneath the lining. And beside every object, in the witness field, my mother's handwriting named me. I did not need the family to call me heir. Every stolen heirloom had led back to her. Every record had led back to me. Not because the objects were mine in the way my father meant ownership. They were mine because I had stayed long enough to learn their histories. And because my mother had left a record that survived the people who tried to rewrite it. That was the legacy I kept. Not the necklace, not the title, but the evidence that made both impossible to steal again. The archive remembered what the family wanted forgotten. and I finally knew how to make that memory public.